Welcome to episode 4 of the Variety Lounge. My name is Joseph. This is Randy. And just like always, we are going to start off the show with a little bit of introduction of our week. So, Randy, how did your week go?
Well, I took a quick trip down to Denver and drove up to Fort Collins and worked a quick show there and flew home. So, yes, I continue to exhaust myself, but then had a good week, had a very good week at work. And we were short a couple people, but it all worked out. So, yeah. And how was your week, Joseph?
Week was pretty uneventful as normal. Did some contemplating on new seasoning flavors for the seasoning deal, and watched some LCS. So that's about as entertaining as my week went. So it's always boring, but I still like it. So the topic that we are discussing today is going to be the effects of COVID. It's going to be an interesting one. So um, the direction that we're going to go, I think, is we're going to turn this into post COVID and what it has done to the world and the effects of what we're looking at in the future. So, Randy, I'll let you start this one, and then I'll chime in on spots. So,
All right. Yeah, it's interesting how things played out at the end here. It may not have been the boogeyman we all envisioned. Of course, the fact that the vast majority got vaccinated may have something to do with that. But the whole shutting down the economy and quarantining for that period of time had dramatic impacts economically, socially, individually. Uh, it was hard. It sucked. But like I sat here right where I'm sitting now and did my job for 10 months or 11 months or whatever it was, sitting in the corner of my room with my dog, who's no longer with me. But and it was really hard. It got me to personally. I realized uh, that I do have social needs. I wasn't ever sure if I did, uh, and when they called me back to work, I was not disappointed. So I got to go back into the office and I get some social needs met there. And I work for a manufacturing company, and the logistical nightmare that was created by that was horrendous. We were very fortunate. Our ownership made some good decisions as far as buying up inventory early. And so, but we had a lot of, had to wait for stuff that was coming over the Pacific, sitting outside Long Beach for weeks and weeks and weeks, waiting to get unloaded. We had, we were able to keep a crew running. Everybody was getting paid. Uh, but I think the overall economic impact has changed. It's definitely changed the way we do business. And I think it's probably changed the way everybody does. And the dependency on China got very highlighted. And we bring some stuff in from China. And you know what? The amount of stuff we bring in from China is a tiny fraction of what it was, because the end result was we cannot depend on that. And I also, and then the political upheaval and social upheaval, and we're all, it was like the world lost its mind. And I think we're all still struggling with trying to reach some kind of equilibrium with all of that.
what do you think it's done socially, though?
During it, uh, is what fueled this inflation. Uh, I'm a monetarist, and it seems to prove true every time. So, you raise the monetary supply, and the value of the money goes down. So, uh, I don't know. That brushes on a little bit of it, but I don't want to just sit here and lecture for the next however long. Joseph, what did you see going on during that time frame for you?
the problem that I have with the effects of COVID, truthfully, outside of it literally shutting down our economy completely, is it created a dependency on the government. And I do wonder if that was part of their plan. Um, the amount of people that were allowed to not work for more money than I think that some people even have ever made, truthfully, with how much they were paying for it. And then utilizing, what did they call it? What did they call the people that were working? Remember what term they used?
Oh, necessary employment or what was it? Yeah, there was this great phrase for it.
I don't even remember what they called it,
Geez,
but
Joe.
I think everybody knows what I'm talking about though. But
Yeah.
um, which didn't work. Pretty much anybody who was working during that time frame were more working off of just, I think, personal belief and pride. I know I was, right. There is no way that I was going to not work and just collect money just because the money has to come from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And that's I think part of what has hurt our economy so much is there was such a huge percentage of the population that was not working that there wasn't enough money coming in to stabilize what they were doing. And
Oh, yeah.
it, yeah, so it put us further and further back. I think socially it did a lot of damage. It did a positive for the way that our technology is going, which is essentially isolation and reaching out through technology. But as for the way that our world has always worked from 2019 before, I think it took a hindering and really proving how isolated that we are capable of being. And so it's a good test psychologically to say, and I think that's why the products that are coming out are proving to be successful because they've already proved it with one scenario that the world, not just the United States, that the world has gone through is being we don't mind being alone as long as we have some type of interface to connect when we feel the need to.
When you say products that came out, what are you referring to? I'm interested.
Any type of VR, any type of, I mean, for an example, Skype, um, Zoom, for an example, got big after COVID.
Yeah.
I didn't even know about Zoom until COVID came out, for an example, right? So there's a lot of platforms that actually got to make a lot of money that were normally just something that businesses used. It was never really used personal, at least on a norm. And I think it'll be interesting to see if it develops or hurts our social construct, just because we are creatures who do love interaction.
Yeah.
And yeah, and as much as just me and you here, I've always found that in person is still a lot more impersonable or more personable than being separated by a screen. But with today's generation, that's pretty much how they do it. I mean, um, kind of talking, we were talking about this a couple of days ago. Even like the console war when it comes to gaming is
Yeah.
is receding because everything is handheld now. You got the Steam Deck, you got the Rogue Ally, you got all of these new techs that are coming out that people are moving towards instead of using their TVs. I mean, for an example, I can't tell you the last time I turned on my TV, honestly.
Yeah.
And unless you're still sticking with that format, uh, I wonder if televisions are going to end up kind of disappearing like VHS or CDs or anything. So I don't think it'll ever be to that extent, but I see it being a possibility. Um, but
The
back
way I, well, sorry.
no, but back
No.
on topic though. I think it created a dependency that I think is unhealthy. And even though mankind is able to pushback. I think it created an obsession with social media and that being the career choice. And the trades, I think, are seeing a big hit to this, for an example. And that's what runs the world. I mean, that's the reason why your plumbing works and your electricity works and and it seems everybody would much rather, and it was that way before, but it really accelerated it. They would much rather sit in front of a screen and entertain than go out and actually make a what we would consider a normal living, but uh, jobs that sustain our country.
Yeah.
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 Mm.
Okay. Yeah, and I agree with you there too, in that I think, a larger monitor on the wall will probably be with us. But as far as, I mean, I've got to think cable services other than internet are seeing losses of
Mm.
customers, uh, and I think that we saw fortunes won and lost over the last 5 years,
Mm.
4 years, in that the Zoom couldn't hire enough people and work hard, couldn't, didn't know what to do with all the money they were raking in, and then all of a sudden they had to lay everybody off when everyone was turned loose again. Um, and that isn't healthy for an economy either. And as far as I'm concerned for the middle schoolers, or even high schoolers, or the children in general, that during that time, I mean, 2 years being locked down when you're 60 years old is one thing. 2 years being locked down when you're 11, I mean, that's a huge chunk of your life.
Mm.
And I think the impact, we've already seen the test scores, you know, disappointing test scores from the public schools, because the job was really not able to get done for a couple of years there, or it was half-assed. And I know I had my grandson living with me during that time, and he was doing a lot of online schooling, and it was a joke. I mean, he it I can't tell you how absolute zero the education was. It was like perfunctory exercise so that schools could continue to get funding from the state or whatever, but it really wasn't. They weren't learning anything, and I don't see how it's reasonable to assume that a teacher sitting there in the middle of their school year with an entire curriculum written, and now all of a sudden, oh, we're going remote. Oh, really? We've never done that before. I mean,
Mm.
of course, the quality's gonna slide. Um, and the socialization, that, I mean, if it's 15-20% of some child's life that they missed out on socializing, I think we're yet to see the long-term effects of that. um, and as far as was it necessary or not is still, I don't really have an opinion on that. I could argue either side of that. But
In my point of perspective on that
yeah,
one,
yeah,
it's one that we have. Well, I mean, shit, we're talking 4 years ago. As funny as that is to say that, it
I
literally four
know.
years ago. I don't think it matters um, whether it was good or bad. Like
No,
we we moved past that at this point, right? It's been such a long time. It doesn't seem that way, but that's where that coin term time flies. So I don't know if it would be because of having fun in this kind of situation. As for your comment in the schooling, um, children view home as play, right?
yeah,
It's the same as working, right? You go to work, you try hard, you come home, and home is relaxation, it's play, it's free time,
yeah,
right? So when you base it, and it's kind of going to how your view of working at home is, just in a child's perspective, is, oh well, I'm learning on a computer, but I'm not really, because I don't have a teacher in front of me that's putting me in line, right? And depending on the home, on whether how seriously that's taken, whether it's just shoving in front of the computer and says learn,
yeah.
it's a kid. They're not going to take that shit seriously, right? So I think that attributed to a lot of the failures of it too, is for that coming. And and putting that on the parent itself with a parent having a normal life itself. I never thought I knew that it would fail, and I never thought it was okay to put that responsibility when you don't know how that home life is, right? The parent could be insanely busy. You know, they could be working two jobs or have a business or whatever, that they don't have the time to sit there and do their teacher's job for them, right?
Yeah.
So, good.
There's something I want to clarify. My business remained open because we are an FDA Class 1 medical manufacturing business. So we were an essential. There we go.
The essential workers.
We were
That's what it was.
essential. We
Essential
were
worker.
essential workers. Boy, it just came out of my mouth like that. Couldn't dredge it up out of my head. Yeah, so it was an essential business, and we continued to do that. And I tell you, what I did find is working from home, I got a lot more done. Productivity was way up because at work, social needs are getting met, and that takes a chunk of the day. And so I was getting more done, but I was also not ever off work. I couldn't flip a switch. You know, when I get off work and I walk through the door of my house, boom, I'm off work. You know. And I would be sitting here, you know, playing a video game or whatever I might be doing, and I was like, damn, I didn't get that email out, and I'd just turn my chair around and sit here and go back to work. And it was very hard to compartmentalize. You know, there's work Randy and there's not work Randy. And it blended all together. And it was an interesting psychological experiment in some ways, you know, and it was educational to me, and it was hard. I mean,
so going into that, so let's take, when you're talking about the psychological part, so let's go into this in your perspective. So because I remember you going into that, so they made you stay home, right? And then they called you back, and then they made you stay home again. So there was a transition in that, right? So for you, what was the difference between going back the second time, right? Because you already experienced I need a separation from work, to now knowing that you're going back into that mindset. So what did you do or did you just go right back into work mode like normal and think nothing of it?
No, it was so hard to transition back to the office. And, you know, people would ask me, well, which do you like better, being in the office or working from home? And I was like, it is so apples and oranges. I can't pass a judgment on it. I was more productive. I liked not having to get dressed and get in my car and drive to work in the morning. That it bought me some extra time there. So there was some, I mean, it was very pluses and minuses, but I wasn't getting social needs met. I wasn't getting face-to-face contact, which, as you mentioned earlier, what we're doing here, having a conversation over this computer, we don't have the same conversations as when you're sitting on the couch. I mean, in person is dramatically different to me. Now, maybe it's because I'm old and that's what I grew up on, and the technology is all very, very new to me, but that barrier, that screen, you know, it's like when you go and visit, you know, somebody in prison, you know, and you got the glass thing in front of you. And I mean, it makes a difference. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's a spiritual thing or a psychological thing or what, but it makes a difference. And I think that human contact, I mean, even, I mean, I can't believe how much I missed a hug, you know, and you know, my kids, you know, would kind of come and see me. And I had Elijah here, but he was 15 and I mostly spent time with him wanting to choke him. But it was, you know, that's not an ideal age. Anyway, I wasn't getting a lot of my needs met there, but it was, you know, that part of it was I'm glad to be back in the office. Part of me says, "Gosh, I wouldn't mind having a day a week remote because I could really get caught up on my inbox." Because man, could I fly through some stuff when I was working from home. Also, I was working till I went to bed, basically, because that's just how I roll. Um, it. I don't even know where I was supposed to go with this, Joe. I just lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
So that
You don't
becomes
know either.
no,
You
no, I do.
know?
I'm just trying to think of what you when it comes to because there is a multiple amount of personalities what they like to do. What do you think is more healthy for you? Is working at home and having the ability to work till you go to bed, or walking to the office? Because to me, for an example, when I walk into the office, right, it's there's a little bit of ego that comes in. Joseph has entered the room. Thou shalt recognize. This is me, obviously, right? While doing something that would be at home, it would be such a huge separation because there would be no almost personal recognition. And I think everybody has a form of that, whether they're thinking it or whether they're actually acting it out like I do, right? Where you miss the feeling recognized for the reason for you being in that building, not just the work that you know that you were doing. You know what I mean?
We are a tribal species. I mean, we immediately, I mean, probably since we were well before human, always lived in groups.
Hmm.
And the way we have succeeded as a species is through group cooperation and clan ties and family ties. And, takes a village to raise a child and, all that stuff is we run in packs. And that's how we're designed. That's how and so I think uh, walking into a room with a group of people, even if they're not speaking to you, if you have anxiety about being in a room full of group of people, I think it's legitimate. I
Hmm.
think you walk into that room and you can feel the all the other souls in there, all the other personalities in there, all the energy of all the people, and if you love that sort of thing, like I mostly do, sometimes I don't, but anyway, uh, yeah, you walk in and it's like, ah, yeah, yeah, I'm here. You know, that's so and so, and that's so and so, and I like that one, and I don't like that one, and I think it's just a almost a genetic wiring that we are supposed to be together, and and we and I think that separation was really hard psychologically, and
So now, what do you think that looks like now, right? Because we have things. So I kind of made a point in a previous discussion where Apple has just released a new technology, the Apple Vision thing, right?
yeah,
And I was laughing because the reason why you don't see it a lot is because the damn thing's $3,000,
yeah,
right?
that's a barrier.
Yeah, so it's an amazing product, but it's also expensive. So what do you think that society currently, just right now, let's say today, tomorrow, would look like if the Apple Vision was, let's say, 500?
Well, I think a lot of more people would have it, and I think in a few years it will be 500.
Mm-hmm.
Being an early adopter of technology is an expensive hobby, as you know, Joseph.
Oh yes,
and,
yes, I do know very well, very
and,
well.
uh, and so I think like everything else, I mean, first VCR player was, about the same price as a starter car, which is
Mm,
the $3,000 you're talking about.
yeah.
And so it'll get there, and it's not a bad way to do it because it gives chance for content to build, et cetera, et cetera. Uh, if that, I'd have one probably, and I'm
But I
not a
mean, but does
Apple
that change?
fanboy by any stretch of the imagination.
So this becomes kind of the cool part of the conversation, right? Is
Okay.
so you have essentially your computer on your face, And obviously, they're going to develop it where it's lighter weight. You can carry it around all day. Um, I think that the only drawback is going to be battery, right? I think it's really going to be the wall that they're hitting in current times, right? So imagine, and I just, what if that product combined both worlds, where you had the work at home plus the work environment? Because I think that it would be a very huge reality.
I don't know how that particular device would achieve that.
You're running the same software, right? You can go to meetings, you can write essays, you can do all of these things, Excel documents on an Apple Vision. It's literally like running a computer, just an Apple computer, for an example.
But if I'm looking at a screen, I'm looking at a screen. It doesn't matter whether I'm sitting in a room with people or not.
But
I've
you
been
can, but
sitting
you
on my
can,
phone and have somebody come up to me and start talking to me. I'm like, huh?
but there's a
What?
difference when you can do your work sitting on a bench in the middle of Times Square. You see what I'm
I
saying?
can go through my emails on my phone sitting on a bench in Times Square.
Correct,
And it takes away from the enjoyment of Times Square exponentially.
but we don't do that anyways anymore, right? I don't think that there's any, being here in Montana, we might be a little different, but on a societal point, I don't think anybody actually looks up and sees a sun. When's the last time you've heard a conversation about a sunset? Like genuinely,
About a what?
a sunset.
Oh, well, I think it showed somebody was talking about it in my news feed. I
Okay,
think,
but the point
yeah,
being
but
is
no,
though, but
no,
it's
yeah,
it's
you're right.
super rare. We are not observant of our environment anymore because we are focused on the technology that is revolving around the world. That is our sunset, essentially. As funny as that is, it is our rooster in the morning. That is our sunset when we wake up, and it is our sunrise. Yeah, fucking good for me, right? Sunrise, sunset, right? And I think that that becomes here, I'd say within about 5 years, becomes what we wake up to and what we go to sleep to. Is
I think you're overstating this.
I don't though. I really don't.
I
Just
know you
because,
don't, but I'm telling you, I do.
well, so this is the reason why, is we continuously are on our devices because of the convenience of that, right? So if take a person who works at home, right?
Mhm.
They work at home for whatever reason, right? Maybe it's because they got a disability, maybe it's whatever. But now you can go to a local coffee shop
Mhm.
and not be pinned down, not having to bring a bunch of equipment, not having to haul your laptop in and worry about somebody peeking over your shoulder on confidential information, right? All of these little limitations and barriers that creates, it may seem like a simple thing, but it's really not. It's actually huge. Where now I can be in the middle of a meeting while working on an email, while watching whatever, a demonstration or a training video or something like that, just on the extreme, right? I see our society going back into more person to person off of this, but through a device, if that makes sense. So we're more in the environment, but still outside of it. If I was to project.
I I I think the human need for interaction with other humans on a personal level is never going to go away. And I think yes, it would be a handy, convenient device. And this phone here,
Mm,
I was when I was traveling earlier this week, I'm riding the rental car bus out to get my rental car, and I'm looking at my phone. I got done with whatever I was doing. I shoved it in my pocket and I looked, and everybody's looking at their phone. And you know what I thought to myself? Yeah, 30 years ago, everyone was looking at a magazine or a newspaper.
mm-hmm,
I mean, they were entertaining themselves on the bus ride in some way, or a book or whatever.
mm-hmm.
We've never, in those circumstances, really sat and struck up a conversation with the person next to us. You might, they may or may not be responsive, I mean, but I don't think uh, it spells the end of society as we know it. I think the main thing that phone has done for me is it opened up. I can answer any question that might pop into my head, which is amazing. And I'm also in many ways never off work and haven't been since I got my first flip phone, because they can ping you, they can call you. You give your phone number to that customer, on the West Coast, and they're calling you at 9:30 at night. And frankly, I'm in bed by then. I mean, I think it's accelerated the speed of life. I think it's accelerated things, but I don't think it's changed humanity. When I'm driving to work certain times a year and I watch that sun come up, I notice it and I appreciate it. And I think everyone on the road with me is doing the same thing. I think we are still human. I think the tools we have affect how we interact with each other, but it doesn't affect with the need to interact with each other.
No, and I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that it's going to
Yeah.
completely divide us. I'm saying that it is going to bring us back together, but still within separation. Or we are now more willing to be out and about because what we are wanting to do is out and about, right?
Yeah.
On our screens. And since you can see normally anyways, while interfacing with the technology that you're wanting to, you can be in the environment and not in the environment at the same time. I do. I think that this type of technology, and just like I said, this is just my opinion, actually fix a lot of the societal problems that we have because we were able to bring our world with us. It is different when you're looking at your phone, right? Me grabbing my phone and going, "Oh, hey, what's up? Want to meet up for drinks?" Right? It's a
Right.
little bit different than something that's visually on you, right? That is interfacing your entire world. So the world itself is there, and then you're interfacing that technology on top of that as a layer, and being able to switch between the two, right? I think is going to, because people still like to be outside in general.
Yeah.
So it's different than reading a book or a magazine, right? You're reading a book and a magazine because you're bored, which we use our phones and stuff for the same reasoning, right?
Main reason I get on my phone. Yeah.
But at the same time, you are also talking about an age where that was entertainment, and that was the that's it, right? You got to watch the news at 5 o'clock because technology wasn't that advanced back then,
Oh.
where it didn't become a focal point. It is a focal point now. It is what runs the world. And so I think that it will not only bring our society back together with just being able to interact in general, but in a comfort level that even people with anxiety, right, can control the environment. So it'll allow some comfort on top of it, and it will actually increase productivity in business, I think personally, because you can work on the go, right? Just right as you're going to dinner, you can finish up an email while you're sitting in a restaurant, for an example, um, be in a meeting at a restaurant, right? I think that what it will allow us to be able to accomplish as mankind will do more beneficial psychological effects if this is the direction that we go than the direction we are currently in. Because now we're just separated because of situation. When we create something that allows us to combine both worlds, I think it's going to do a lot of good, and I see some amazing progress coming from that personally.
Okay. Okay. You're. I see your point.
Mm-hmm.
But okay. 200 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
it was, young man, come here. Here's a tuppence. Would you go tell Lady Madeline that I wish to call on her? I mean, and then it turned into whatever else, and then the telephone, and then the cell phone, and then this thing. It's just a means to that same end, and it does increase velocity. I mean, and the in that, and I think the cell phone, and I think this device as well, is going to enable us to, on the bus ride to the rental car pickup, to go through emails, to check that spreadsheet, to contact my son and say, hey, I miss you, whatever it is. I think it, and I don't know a lot about this thing.
Hmm.
Okay. I've learned everything I've learned about, I've learned from you,
Hmm.
uh, is, is that it's just a more convenient cell phone. And I don't see it making a drastic change in human behavior.
No,
I
it's
mean,
literally like a laptop. It's
yeah,
like an Apple. Oh, that's not like a cell phone, right? A cell phone has its capabilities because it's running certain formats, right?
yeah.
That are not capable with a lot of things, just because it can't. It's not programmed to do that. A device that is designed to do this. I mean, I kind of look at this. Imagine artists like sitting down and actually, instead of sitting down and looking at a sunset, actually drawing beside it. I mean, it's something stupid, right? But at the same time, it allows us, and that's kind of where I'm saying is the combination of both worlds being allowed at any time, where you can draw inspiration just on the artistic, which I don't draw. Like I'm just kind of spitting on my ass on the
You
floor.
do draw and you're really good at it.
I mean, but I don't enjoy it. How about that? The but the idea of it is mankind. We are amazing, right? And we can
Yeah.
make anything out of anything. And so having something that allows us to move through our world efficiently and effectively outside in the world is amazing without having to pull out our cell phone to get that fucking moment, right? Just something that's fluid with us, that runs with us normally, and our conversations. And then, so just hear me out on this one because this one's kind of like a fun thing. Let's say, for an example, me and you meet up to go out to lunch or something, right? And
Okay.
then we're on this, and all of a sudden Griffin calls your son, right?
Right.
So now all of a sudden we can just slide him right into lunch, and boom, now it is a three-way lunch. And I think that would be a norm, and I think that would be an enhancement to our social world. Yeah, technically we could still do that now, but not as efficiently. And I think that's where the progress is going to come in, is the efficiency of how smooth the transition is going to be, that it will become an excited point of our socialization because people who are unable to be there, right, will be allowed to be there without constraints of having to hold up a device or having to buy some specialized shit for it, right? It's streamlined and smooth and it's just instant. And I think that's going to allow us to bring more people into our world effectively instead of trying to create a situation to make it even half-ass.
Okay.
Mm.
I do want to comment to this in that saying, I'm not sure there's anything I do on my laptop that I can't do on my phone.
Hmm.
If we wanted to have this meeting, we can get on Skype on our phones and we can talk to each other. And if Griff calls, we can, bring him in or
Hmm.
whatever. I mean, I think it's a greater convenience. I don't think it's a dramatic breakthrough.
Oh, it is 100% because of the efficiency of it. We love efficiency. Anything that is made easier. Why the fuck do you think we like technology so much? So yes, like I said, we can do the same thing now with quite ease. But there's some resistances to it and irritation that we have to meet our own parameters for that to be comfortable. You going bloop on a screen and then you're just three-way without having to interrupt your environment is different than having to set up your phone and then turn it back and forth or set it to just right on the salt shakers. Like I know it sounds like a little thing, but it is a massive thing when it comes to the fluidity of how we run our lives.
See, and if we're sitting in a restaurant and you have these funky glasses on and you're watching Cloud9
Fucking right.
do their thing,
Hmm.
um, you're not going to be engaged with me. And that's
Yeah, well,
I mean, how is that any different than me looking at my phone like, oh yeah, Joe? Uh-huh. I mean, it's going to be the same damn thing.
but that's what I'm saying. It's because of both worlds. So it's an attention thing, right? So essentially, you are right that there is going to be somewhat where your attention is going to be focused one way or another, right?
Yeah.
But it's still within the environment. If you're looking on your phone, like I understand you're still in the fucking restaurant, right? But if you're
Yeah,
on your
I'm still sitting across the
yeah,
table from you, not paying attention,
but
like
if
the
you're on your
glasses
phone,
will
you're
do.
on your phone. If it's directly in front of you, I'm still having this conversation with you while still something else is going on. So let's just take the we're out as buddies having lunch, right? And your son calls and wants to be part of our lunch, right?
Okay.
There's nothing that we need to do extra for that to be a normal because the technology allows us to see one another, talk to one another, right? Because of that. And on both sides, Grip will be part of that and will be here switching just like you would in a normal conversation. I just see, and this is just my point of view and just how I see. And honestly, how often am I wrong when it comes to where we are at technology?
You are my go-to for
Yeah,
technology. You are not my go-to for philosophy. And so, yeah. Uh,
I should be. I mean, no, but like truly though, like, and so, and this is where like maybe yourself wouldn't be interested in doing that kind of thing, but I know that the world is, and it would definitely. I mean, or that kind of product. I mean, that's even how it's advertised, right? As oh, you can do all this while, and they have people making YouTube videos or watching them going down the street. They see just fine, interacting with people, and still going through and working while they're walking down the street. And
Let me
so,
talk about something. Somebody's driving a car.
yeah.
They're in traffic with you, and they got this damn thing on their face. Are you going to feel comfortable?
See, I think honestly, there's going to be I think with the and I didn't read much into the driving thing, but I think it'll because of the traffic laws and the government side of it. I think that just like your cell phone does, it recognizes when you're in a vehicle. I think it'll shut it down. Well, you'll still be able to see, but I think that it will shut down your ability to run processes if you are driving. That's honestly what I think that the program will end up doing.
Well, the truth is, I remember way back when I'd be driving down the highway and I'd pass this car, and the guy's got a book propped up on his steering wheel with his
Mm-hmm.
thumbs on it, reading the book while he's driving.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's not, you know, or the guy with the sports page, folded to a
Yeah.
quarter the size, and he's driving and he's checking the game scores. I mean, so yeah, I mean that stupidity's been around a while, but
I mean, and we like to be entertained as a culture
yeah.
and individually. We like to be entertained. So I think that seeing where that goes, um, I think I'm right on the nail. I think that's what we're going to be in 5 years. I think that's going to be the norm. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I've been calling this being a thing for what 10 years. That this is where we're going to be in 10 years, and we're 10 years into it, and here we are, right? So, I mean, I'm not wrong. So,
No, no.
wow, wow, nice. Now I know why we're using this now, so you can put clapping emojis on. That's fantastic.
No, Joe. Yeah, okay, you're right. But and if the thing was 400 or 500 bucks, I'd probably own one by now.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is if
So
it
I mean,
was
yeah,
cheaper, I
yeah.
think that it would kind of prove my point quite quickly. I
And in
think
two
that,
years, it will be.
and what I think what it is, so it's more of the fear, and a good example of this, and it's is Project Natal, and I've mentioned this to you a long time ago, right?
Was I
Where it
paying attention?
no, so the Project Natal was Xbox's what the original Kinect, and it was an AI
Oh,
based system that they put. Lionhead Studios put made a program for it, and it freaked the fuck out of parents because the AI technology back then could become friends with your kid.
Yeah.
genuinely have an emotional because it read your facial expressions quite beautifully.
Huh.
And you're talking that was what the Connect came out fucking the early
God, that was a
2000s.
while ago. Yeah.
So we've already had that. It's just when they took the test and the parents were like, "Oh no, my kid is not going to be friends with a fucking TV," and understandably so, especially back then, right?
Yeah.
But it's been something that the developers have been wanting to put in our society for a long time. They're just waiting for our culture to get to that point, and I think that our culture is at that point.
Okay. Meh.
I mean, you were going to be meh, but you're like 800 years old, so you're going to stay in your own. I love being um, up with the times. I like being fluent with the technology. I'm
Oh
excited.
yeah.
Yeah,
You like I said, you're my go-to for technology. You read everything
yeah, and
on
I'm
technology. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing what this does. And like I said, just on even the efficiency, like even what you do for a living, right? Imagine not having to travel because a person is just calling you and actually enjoying your company right in front of you.
You see, and I'm glad you brought that up
Yeah,
because this is something I'm an expert on.
that is true. Yes, you are.
and and if I don't like the video chat thing, and I don't like a job interview that's conducted in this format we're
Mm,
using right here, whatever, because after years, some years of experience now with the virtual versus real, there is something that happens when you're face to face with somebody where I don't know if it's a pheromone thing or whatever, it's something
hmm
indescribable, but it is so different. It is so different in that you can read someone so much better, and you can anticipate what they're and understand their emotions, and if it's and understand what they're saying so much better in person, uh, because you have all the senses going on, and I don't know. I wish, I'm sure some scientist has looked into this and there's an explanation because it's so profoundly different.
Now,
And
is it actually different, or is it just you grew up in a time that's the way that it was done, and so psychologically that is what you pick up, even though like I agree, like just genuinely over the phone, just
yeah,
hey, that's different because you can't see facial expressions, you can't hear,
yeah,
you can't really put tone to expression, right? But like me and you here, if you're irritated about a subject, you can try to hide it through tone, but you're visually going to show cues, right? So you're getting a lot of the same thing. I think that the positive thing that this brings, and there is merit to what you were talking about because you are correct. Face to face, there's a respect value
yeah.
because of environment. So you got fear and you've also got ego that goes into that, right? There's a difference of puffing your chest and fluffing your feathers in front of people, especially when you're talking in terms of success, right?
And I think in person is important because it demands a level of civility that this format doesn't. If I wanted to call you every cuss word I wanted to and insult your family and on and on and on, I'm safe doing it in this
Mm-hmm.
format. If I'm standing in front of you doing it, I'm not. And so I think that that's one of the hazards of this, and what has happened with the whole virtual connection with human beings is there's a horrible lack of civility because there's not a chance somebody's going to punch you in the mouth.
Yeah, but that's a culture thing that has something to do with the technology based on it. That is something that has been taught in schools, right, with the anti-bullying and all this stuff, right? I mean that's true though. That's where it starts, Randy. People don't just fucking
But
come
it's
up with that.
true that people say things in this format that they would never say in person.
Oh yeah, you're not
It
incorrect on
demands
that.
a
Yeah,
level of civility.
it does, but in a world that essentially if you fucking yell at somebody the wrong way, you're getting arrested anyways. Extreme sense, but I make a point.
Joe, you're an asshole, and how many times have you been arrested?
Well, zero, but give me some
Yeah,
fucking
there you
time.
go.
But give me some fucking time. um, the this is so your statement is correct, and I agree with your point.
Yeah.
Where I see the brighter side of this is it will allow people who are talented and have remarkable skills that without being in that anxious environment will flourish massively. So I think that we'll get talent in this world that was too afraid to be in that talent without having to be psychologically medicated or something like that, and actually can exist the way that they want to exist. I see prosperity massively on this. I do agree with there is an element that you do miss face to face. I mean, even on a business meeting where you're sitting down with some scotch and a cigar, at a bar, right, it has an element to it that is vital to a certain generation. But I think that moving forward, I think it's losing its importance as much as it did when we were younger. We both, right? It's not as important now. Like I view human interaction a lot more 20 years ago than I do now. It's not that I don't value it. It's just the importance of it is not as high because technology has allowed me to do this.
Okay. Here's Have you ever met somebody and felt, whoa, there's something wrong with them?
Oh yeah.
Or
Mm-hmm.
holy mackerel, look at this. Now, let's set that over here.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had a Tinder meetup where you're looking at the picture, you're looking at the profile, you've texted back and forth, hey, this could be good.
Mm-hmm.
Let's meet up. And you meet up and it's like, damn,
See,
there
this
is
eliminates it.
no chemistry here. There is nothing here. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
or damn, I will sell my soul for this date. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it that in that part of the in-person formula is gone with what you're talking about.
No, because what I'm saying is it's still going to be in person. It's just going to be the technology and the norm combined.
Yeah.
And I just
And I
that's
still think if you have a screen in front of your eyes, it doesn't count.
and fair, right?
Yeah.
And I would be happy with either world existing, truthfully. But I
All
mean, but
right.
that's
We're
just a
running out of time, aren't we, pal?
yeah, I was gonna say that's a generational thing. Yeah, we're getting pretty
Yeah.
close.
And okay, I admit I am a digital import
Mm,
and this is all foreign to me. So it
mm.
might just be that why I'm stuck.
I mean, what do you do, really? I mean, truthfully. But I would be interested to know if I'm right or if you're right, honestly.
Well, in a
And
few years we'll probably
yeah, I was
find
gonna
out.
say we'll be finding out because once
Yeah.
once that becomes a norm, it'll definitely be it'll definitely be a thing.
Yeah.
So, but Randy is right. We are running way over what we normally would like to go. So we'll probably pick this up, or at least continue on it at a later date. For those who are watching this, thank you so much. We do appreciate your support. If you have any topics that you would like for us to discuss, please make sure that you put it in the comments. Um, we are probably going to be doing guests here pretty soon, honestly, just to kind of give
Good.
a shake it up a little bit. So I'm excited for that. So I will announce when that is a thing, give you guys a little bit more reason and a different mentality than just two old fuckers who are egotistical in their own ways, for an example. So, so, uh, Randy, do you have anything to say before we log off here?
Hey, thanks everybody. I hope you keep watching. There, that's all I got.
All right, and please like, comment, and share. Hit that notification bell so you can see when we go live, so we can actively have a conversation with you guys while we're doing this. That would be preferred, so that we can communicate with you guys as we are going. Other than that, I hope you all have a fantastic week, and we will see you next week.
All right.